Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, another Q&A from me, episode 2. I'm making this video because it seems like episode 1 went down quite well. So thank you for all of your comments and all of your questions on that video. If you want to see another episode after you've watched this, then don't forget to put some questions in the comments for me as well to answer in the next video. I've got a list of questions here. These are all of the questions that I had on the previous video. I've got one person that's asked quite a number of questions, so I'm going to say no more than 2 questions please per person. Right, let's get to this, and everyone that I mentioned in the video I will put a link to their channel in the description below, so go and check them out. Okay, so I have my cup of coffee. And the first question is from Jim White. Which current 40k army would you least like to collect and why? Okay, well thank you Jim for your question. My instant reaction to that would actually be Dark Eldar, and nothing to do with the army in terms of the looks or how it plays, or I don't like it, but I'm thinking of storage. Those minis look pretty fragile to store, the flying bases and all the spiky bits and that, so storage space for me is getting very limited now with the amount of armies that I had. So from that point of view I would probably say Dark Eldar, but when I really think about it, I think the army that I would least like to collect is probably just Space Marines, normal vanilla Space Marines. Pretty boring for me personally. I like to have an army which has like more unique things to it. Which is I don't mind that the additional Codex Marines, you know, like Blood Angels, and did I say I like Blood Angels? That can't be right. But you know what I mean, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, you know, when they've got a different codex with different rules and special features and functions. But the vanilla Space Marine Codex probably I would say is my least favourite army. Okay, next question is from Graeme Collin, who whenever he comments always comments something quite funny, so I'm looking forward to his one. Name your favourite character for each Star Trek series, then rank them in order of preference. Thank you Graham. I know why you gave me that question, just because I had such a difficult time answering favourite Star Trek things in the last one. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, so let's have a look. So, name your favourite character from each series. Okay, well let's start at the beginning, original series. It's between Spock and Kirk, but ultimately I'm going to have to say Kirk. It's Captain Kirk. So yeah, Captain Kirk. Then we go on to the Next Generation. Next Generation, got to be Data, really. I like Riker, and Riker for me is like the Next Generation Captain Kirk character. But I think Data has the edge because it's quite comical. You know, just is unique, and I think Brent Spinner plays him incredibly well. So I'm going to say Data. The next we have Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine, there's some really good characters in there. O'Brien and Bashir, they've got great chemistry. But I'm going to have to say my favourite character from Deep Space Nine is Quark. Yeah, he's pretty funny, and I like him. So Quark, and then we go on to Voyager, which, as I said before, is possibly my, well, not possibly, but is my favourite episode, just about. But in Voyager is a tough one because obviously we have 7 of 9 in there, and there's no doubt whatsoever that Voyager comes to life when 7 of 9 comes into the series. But I don't want to just choose 7 of 9 just because there's a hot woman in there. So I'm gonna change that, and I'm gonna go for Ensign Harry Kim. which I know is a bit of an oddball one maybe because it's probably not that popular. Because the Doctor, of course, is really popular, and I do like the Doctor a lot. He's that sort of data character. I'm going to go for Kim because I find that Kim gets a lot of the episodes that are my favourite, the time travel type ones. He's very often in there. When they did the 100th episode special, he was in there doing the time travel business and that. And I think he's had a great journey in the series from being like fresh out the academy and then being thrown into deep space and learning as he's gone along. But he's still an ensign 7 years on, even though he's learned a lot. And if he wasn't trapped in space, deep space, he wouldn't be an ensign anymore. So I think he's had a nice journey and the character's really good. So I'm going to say Kim. Then you go on to Enterprise, and I'm just going to go for the Totty in that, I think. T'Pol. Yeah, T'Pol. So that's my top five. Now I've got to put them in order. Great. Okay, I know who's number one, so I'll start there. Kirk. Captain Kirk. He's got to be number one. Then I'm going to go for Data. Then I'm going to go for T'Pol. Nah, that can't be right, surely. No, forget that. Right. Okay, then I can't even remember who else I said now. Okay, Harry Kim's going to be last. And then the other two, who did I say? Deep Space Nine, Quark. Okay, yeah, okay, Quark, third place. So who's that? Captain Kirk. Data, Quark, Kim's last, and T'Pol fourth. There you go, I've done it. Okay, next question is from Devil's Prodigy. If you could be any 40 character, if you could be any character in 40k universe, who would it be and why? Okay, there's a lot of characters, and you actually say character, so I can't just choose a normal person, like a warrior, Necron warrior. I'm going to choose a Necron Lord. Excuse me. The reason why I'm choosing a Necron Lord is because I think a Necron Lord is about where I am in life. I've got people like at work, I've got people below me, I've got people above me, and I think the Necron Lord sits in between. So I think if you try and inspire my life into the 40k universe in particular, I'm looking at Necrons because it's my favourite army. So I'm going to go with the Necron Lord. He's better than average, but he's not the best. So yeah, Necron Lord, and probably with a Staff of Light because I'm a bit of a coward really. I'll probably just stand at the back shooting rather than trying to get into close combat. So give me a Staff of Light, please. Next is from Sgt Oddballz, previously known as Brian Fisher. Thank you for your questions, Brian. Okay, here we go. What is your favourite race in Star Trek? That is a very good question. And there's lots of very good races in there. I'm going to say the Borg, and the reason why I'm going to say the Borg is because I like the journey that we had with the Borg. Being introduced to them, they were like 7 years earlier than we were supposed to meet them. Basically they were invincible, and as the series and episodes go on, we gradually get better and better at defeating them. Finally we could defeat them, and then eventually a new species in fluidic space, even more nastier than the Borg. I like the journey, so I'm going to say the Borg, but there are a lot of awesome races. My favourite ship. Yeah, it's got to be the original Enterprise. It has to be. It's iconic. It's iconic. And don't get me wrong, the newer ships as they've progressed have got really cool looking, but that's iconic. And Clayton, clay dog, 33 clay dog, you should be painting a freehand Enterprise on every single mini you paint. Personal joke. Okay, right, next question from Sgt Oddballz is, what was the first figure or model you ever painted? Well, that was a unit of warriors, 10 warriors I painted first, and I remembered I dry brushed the first layer on, showed them to my buddy, and he said, you haven't taken the mould lines off. He's like, mould lines? What's that? Yeah, you got to scrape the mould lines off. So I had to scrape all the mould lines off and start again. What got you into 40k and the hobby? Well, I've said that in my IDIC history video, but effectively it was a couple of buddies from work that got me into it. What is your favourite colour? My favourite colour is red. I know it's a Blood Angels colour, what's wrong with me? Yeah, red. I love purple, obviously, but ultimately red. I love red. Okay. What is the average wing speed velocity of an unlaid swallow? Well, is it African or European? Can't answer the question unless I know. Okay, thank you, Brian, for all your questions. Terrain Direct. If it was an all-out battle, Star Wars versus Star Trek, who would you think would win? Now I'm going to skip forward to Martin McNeil's question. I am not a Trekkie, and as you know, I'm a big Star Wars fan. So my question is, who would win in a galactic fight? I've got two questions, basically the same. Absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt, Star Trek would win. It's obvious. I'm not even going to argue why Star Trek would win. Courage and honour. Now that you have 3,000 plus subscribers, how do you manage your time watching other people's videos and commenting on them, and also replying to your comments? Okay, I know Tom. I've actually spoken to Tom about this quite a while ago, actually, and yeah, I've got more subscribers now, and not only have I got more subscribers, but I'm doing a lot of stuff on Facebook. I'm on the Warmaster forum, so I've got actually the workload as such is more than ever. But I manage it by, first of all, I have my phone, which is a really old phone, but it does what I need it to do. All of my emails come through to me on my phone, and what I do is I look at the email, I read it obviously, and then if it's an email that I don't have to comment to or reply to, I will delete it. Now I can't actually reply on YouTube with this, so if it's a comment on YouTube, I can't reply to it. So basically what I do is I clean up my mailbox using my phone. So when I open up my mailbox, anything that's actually relevant that I don't have to reply to is already deleted. So that really, really helps me. But what I do is when I go onto the computer, the first thing I do is I go onto Facebook, check my Facebook notifications, and reply to anything that needs to be replied. And then I would then go into my mailbox, email box. All of my comments are emailed to my mailbox. What I would do first is I have this like little order. I go on to anyone who's subscribed to my channel, and I reply to them and saying thank you for subscribing, delete those off, and then I go on and I go in and I basically work on the like easy emails, if I need to retweet something, something that's like a single thing, maybe just one comment on a video that's a week old, and I'd just go through those first, and then I'd leave the ones that have got, like yesterday's video might have like 10 comments, and I'd leave that to the last, and then I'd go in and I'd do all those comments. So I'd clear that out. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm listening to your videos, the YouTube videos. So I'm sort of multitasking while I do that. Now your friends go to you. How do you manage your time watching other people's videos and commenting? Okay, so I've got another question actually, which is not a duplicate, but it runs alongside that. So I'll talk about that during the next question as well. And the next question is from SkaredCast. Thank you for your question. As a fellow family man, I have a question. What does a week in your life look like, and how much time do you spend to family, work and the hobby? So I want to talk about this one, and I'm going to combine it with Tom's question from Courage and Honour. So my week is, I don't know exactly where I am and what I'm doing on my week. It's very predictable, but I like it like that. So let's start at the beginning, which for me is a Wednesday. Yeah, so Wednesday is my day off from work. So I get up at the same time every day, and my alarm goes off at 6:10, and I get up about 6:20, 6:30 if I'm a bit tired. So I get up about 6:20, come straight downstairs, put the computer on, and then I do my Facebook notifications, my emails, and at the same time I'm watching your videos. And I spend the day basically having the videos on during the day. I take my youngest to school, and I get about 5 to 6 hours, or I get 6 hours time to myself. I dedicate about an hour to doing whatever chores or whatever needs to be done, and I try to do about 5 hours of hobby time. And then in the evening, my wife comes home from work obviously, and we spend the time together. Occasionally on a Wednesday she will go out straight from work to cinema or friends or whatever. So sometimes on a Wednesday I do get another couple of hours in the evening, but it's not guaranteed. Thursday I work, so I'm at work. I do my normal thing. I get up, have about an hour in the morning on the computer before I go to work. Then when I get to work, I'm normally about half an hour early, so I can go on the computer then for about half an hour, watching videos, whatever I need to do. And then effectively my computer is on almost like a radio at work. So I have the videos and stuff running in the background as opposed to having a radio, so I'm able to hear and watch your videos and comment on them, you know, if I have the opportunity to during the course of the day, which obviously is quite useful. But when I get home, that changes, because I'm not allowed on the computer at home. Well, not on my wife's home anyway, because I can't multitask. She could be on the sofa watching a movie, playing on a mobile phone and her iPad and doing like 10 other things, but apparently all I can do is watch the telly. I'm not allowed to do anything else. I can't do anything else apparently. No, fair enough. We'd spend time together in the evenings. But Thursday night, in actual fact, is not a time with my wife. Thursday night is time with my eldest two children. They come round on a Thursday. They sleep over on the Thursday nights. And we tend to have a Star Trek night. We watch a couple of episodes of Star Trek and stuff, because they're really enjoying watching the series, which is super cool. So that's Thursday night. Friday is my day off. So again, I do the school run in the morning, 6 hours time to myself, 5 hours of hobby time, and then get the kids from school, 3 of them, and then every other week we go to my mum's house and we have dinner around there, and then Friday night is my gaming night. So I would game either with my son or with my friend. My daughter goes home, but my son stays on Friday night, and then Saturday morning I will take him home before I go to work, because I work the weekends. Saturday I work, come home from work, then it's family night. We normally, you know, get takeaway or pizza, whatever, have a night in on the sofa, my wife and my youngest. No school the next day, so she can stay up a bit, or we just spend some time together. Excuse me. And then Sunday I also work, but it's a shorter working day, so I get up at the usual time, about 6:10, 6:20, and I'm normally painting at 6:30 in the morning to 8:30, so I normally get 2 hours of painting in on a Sunday morning. Then I pop off to work, and then come home and then spend time with my daughter. And when my daughter goes to bed, spend some time with my wife. And then Monday, no hobby time at all. Monday's just to work, come home, relax. And then Tuesday is no hobby time, go to work, come home, and then I play snooker in the evening on a Tuesday. And then we're back to Wednesday. That's my life. Yeah, I mean, obviously I try to grab, I mean, that works out at about 12 hours of painting stroke hobby time at home. I do sometimes, if I've got stuff to build, I will take it to work and I'll build it during my lunch break at work, so that's arguably a few extra hours of hobby time. And then if my wife goes to bed early or goes out with her friends or whatever, I try to grab a few more hobby hours then if I can as well. So I suppose you're looking, probably on average about 15 hours of hobby time. So when I'm painting those space walls, for example, 10 men, roughly probably between 10 and 12 hours a mini. You can see then why it took me 2 months to paint them. I think that's pretty much everything there. Okay, so yeah, thank you for both of those questions. Brilliant questions. Right, Farseer Dodo. Who is your favourite Eldar Phoenix Lord? It's got to be Morgan Ra. I don't really play Phoenix Lords very much, but if I do, it's normally Morgie that I guess out. It's pretty cool. He's pretty cool. I like him. So yeah, Morgan Ra. Mammoth Painting Studio. If you could have a single piece of Necron technology for real, what would it be? And that is another very good question. And when I first read that question, I was thinking about weapons and stuff, but I know exactly now. Now I know exactly what I want. I want a teleportation device. Yeah. Let's face it, transporter technology, teleportation, how awesome would that be? How much time would we save? I'd love it. I'd love it. Also, I'm not a fan of travelling, actually. I don't mind the actual... I'm one of those people, I'm not a traveller. I'm not very adventurous, to be fair. And I don't like going somewhere that I've never been before. You know, I don't like... I can drive, but I don't like driving when I don't know where I'm going. What I really need is a sat-nav. I don't have one. I suppose that cures all your problems if you've got a sat-nav. But yeah, so that's that question. Family of Gamers 777. Have you ever entered a 40k tournament? If so, how did you do? If not, do you see yourself trying one? Never entered a tournament, so I don't know how I've done. My buddies and I did a little campaign that we made up. It was way back in 4th edition. We used to use the extra missions, like the ones that I played with my son, you know, the Blitz and stuff, Ambush and stuff. We had this like map with different flags in, and we had to like try and capture them. But we ended up just going backwards and forwards and playing exactly the same scenarios all the time. Like he would win and I would win, and we didn't finish. We couldn't like conquer the map, which was the idea behind it. I do want to do a tournament one day, just so that I've said that I've done it. And Aceface did mention about him and I teaming up for a doubles tournament this year, so who knows, that might happen, we'll see. Right, we are on to the very last question, and that's from Mini Warzone. And actually, first of all, I'd like to say, Mini Warzone, if you haven't heard of his channel, Pete from Mini Warzone is an awesome guy. He's got some fantastic videos, and in actual fact he's probably the main inspiration for my question and answers series of videos, because he does them, and yeah, he's a really interesting guy. You know, when he talks, he always holds my attention, always comes with interesting stuff. So yeah, Pete's well done, and go and check him out if you haven't subscribed to his channel yet, because he's a really great guy. Okay, this is his question. Now, bearing in mind Pete's only been in the hobby about 9 months. So he said, do you have a favourite few brushes that you keep going back to, even though they might not be the best option or the best condition? Or is this just a bad habit on my part? Okay, that's a very good question. Actually, I just want to talk about brushes, if that's alright. So, brushes. For many, many years, I just used Games Workshop brushes. And that's the old ones. Obviously, they've got new brushes now. The newer brushes are definitely better than the older ones. Probably over the last 3 years, I have switched to Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes. And they are awesome, but occasionally I need a new brush, and I haven't been able to afford Winsor & Newton. I've gone and got a GW one, and I have experienced things with this, and that is that the GW brushes, if you use a brush cleaner, actually last quite a long time. I find without a brush cleaner they last me a project, like 10 men. That's it, it's knackered. But with a brush cleaner, I'm finding I'm getting at least double the amount from them. Considering how cheap they are, that's not actually that bad. But it's not my go-to choice. I do use GW brushes for dry brushes, the stipple brush, the tank brush. They're absolutely fine, but all of the fine type detail brushes, the brushes that I use a 000, which is like the ultimate small tiny brush which I use for edge highlighting. Then I use the 0 and the 1, and most of my work is done with those brushes. I have a few bigger brushes for certain things, but those are the 3 brushes that I use, and I like the Winsor & Newton ones. They last me about a year, because I think I'm a little bit heavy-handed with them. I do clean them. Probably not as much as I should do, but I do definitely clean them. I do try to look after them. But yeah, about a year, and I think considering the amount of stuff that I paint, that's quite reasonable. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that I use Winsor & Newton brushes. Your question asked, do I have a favourite one I keep going back to? I do go back to my favourite brush, but only to the point that I know that it's good still. As soon as it's not like bending up back and it's sort of doing that, every time you stroke and doesn't flip back, I know it's knackered, and I just bin it. Well, I don't bin it. I keep it for other stuff. So I do tend to use the same brushes, but only to a point. I don't think that actually makes sense, does it? The other thing which I've noticed as well is I'll buy, say, a number 1 brush, and I'll use that as a number 1 brush, but in 6 months' time it will have less bristles, and it becomes almost a number 0 brush. So then I'll start using my number 1 brush as a 0 brush. I've noticed that. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Pete. What I would say is the key thing to brushes is to look after them, which I know you do anyway, because I think you've got that brush cleaner. But yeah, personally, I would say absolutely nothing wrong with Games Workshop brushes. They're fine, just look after them. They won't last as long as a Series 7 or a Kolinsky brush or whatever, but they're still very good. But you'll probably just go through more of them. But yeah, Series 7 Winsor & Newton brushes, love them. They're about £10 each, but they are really good. They really hold their shape, they really hold their point for a long period of time. Okay, that is it. That is the questions, all answered. Hopefully you enjoyed this Q&A. Hopefully I'll see some more questions in the comments so that I can have another series. And you'll probably notice I'm wearing the same t-shirts, just in case you didn't see it the first time. How cool is that? This is good. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there, the camera stopped recording. So yes, you notice I'm wearing the same t-shirt as in the previous one, which I'll show you again, because hopefully it won't stop recording. Keep calm and consult the codex. How cool is that? Yeah, I thought I'd use this as my Q&A t-shirt. Okay, so that's it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.